What's happening, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, it is the promised follow-up edition of Dynasty Trade or Dynasty Fade. This week, I did not trade last week's co-host to fade this week's co-host because they're both here. Obviously, you know, my main man, my co-host of many years, we call him the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. Welcome back to your own show, buddy.
Randall, let me tell you how good it feels. And honestly, I barely made it today. I had to work and I said, I need you to punt it about a half an hour and I will try and skate out of there as quick as I can. Luckily, I got the Taylor Swift trivia off and running and I dipped out of there. That's a true story. It was packed for the record. Got out of there and I am here and now I get to talk football, which is exponentially better than pandering to a bunch of Swifties.
Yeah, there's worse clientele. How do they tip?
You know, usually okay because usually
that's all
they're millennials. They're millennials. They're not boomers.
That
no offense to the boomers that for whatever reason
boomers.
Listen here.
I would like to think that as a proud card carrying member, not by a lot, by a couple of years, member of Generation X, like we're good tippers as well. At least I try to be. I've always been proud of that fact, but I will give you that millennials in totality are better tippers than Gen Z, and everybody with a pulse is better than a tipper than boomers.
That's true. Let me interject, though. My mama was a service employee, and she is a boomer, and she instilled that in me. She is a listener of the Dynasty WarZone, and she will listen to this, and she will smile that we are talking to her.
Hi, Mama Jerry. And of course, we love you.
And she is an exquisite tipper, too, so I will give her a shout-out there.
People who grow up in that industry understand the service industry. And that laughter, and yes, you hear in the background, that's producer Kevin. Back by popular demand, and because we promised he would be here. Producer Kev, man, you ready to include Jerry in our Dynasty and Trade and Fade?
Of course, the man of the
hour,
the man with the power.
We miss him.
I would like to add though about the tipping. Yeah, my mom was also a waitress for a very long time in her younger years, and also instilled that with me. So yeah, I am, on it with the tipping. It's very important in my household. So yeah, man, no, I totally agree. I'm also a millennial, so yeah, make sure you got to tip the servers, man. So everybody tip out there.
Yep, take care of your people, and let us take care of a quick piece of business, and we'll get on with the show. Of course, we're streaming this on the Player Profiler YouTube channel Thursdays at 5 p.m. for the rest of the season. Hopefully, when we go back to streaming live on Sundays, it makes the life of a man named Jerry much easier. But you'll continue to find the video version of the show on the Player Profiler YouTube channel. You'll find the audio version in two places. You can find it on our podcast channel, The Dynasty WarZone. Please subscribe over there, even if you're already subscribing to the Player Profiler podcast channels. And leave reviews while you're there. It literally costs $0. It costs you a couple of minutes because you got to go into your Apple app and follow the podcasts, Player Profiler and Dynasty WarZone. But we are not being hyperbolic. We'll be hyperbolic about a lot of stuff on this podcast. We're not being hyperbolic when we say how much it helps the Dynasty WarZone and Player Profiler. And like I said, it's free for you to help us out. Show I want to promote next week, our boy Theo Grimminger, aka the director of content here for Player Profiler. He's hosting a new Dynasty show. It's called The Dynasty Life, and he's been doing that with guests. His guest next week is going to be me. So if you can't get enough of me and you want to talk more about me and with me, it'll be next Tuesday with Theo on the Dynasty Life podcast. And let's hear a quick word from one of our fine sponsors, and we'll start talking trades and fades.
It has been 2 years since Josh Larkey paved the way for fantasy gamers to start expecting positive returns from pick'em games, specifically Underdog pick'ems. And how do you do it? Well, you look at a slate and you find a great shootout or a sneaky shootout. You also look for a shit show game. 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in one game. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. And you can 100x your payout on Underdog. Think about week 1. Jets Bills was a shit show. Did we see the Aaron Rodgers injury coming? No, but we knew the Jets have a good defense. We knew the Bills have a good defense. Why not expect the worst? And the worst is what we got. So if you had gone Dalvin Cook less than, Garrett Wilson less than, Aaron Rodgers less than, Josh Allen less than, Gabriel Davis less than, boom, 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 you can go 6 for 6. Same thing in week 2. Oh, week 2. Oh, sneaky shootout there in Philadelphia. Minnesota's going to be in comeback mode, so we'll go Cousins, Jefferson, Hawkinson, more than. Madison, less than. But also, Swift, more than. Boom, 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 boom. That's how you do it with the Underdog Pick'ems, and you use promo code Underworld to get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, Underdog matches that deposit up to $100 with promo code Underworld. Go start picking.
Do like me some Underdog, and do like me some Jerry and Kevin. Are you guys ready to get into a little segment known as Good People, Bad Tweets?
Fire
Always.
away.
All right. So I like how they nod on an audio podcast. I mean, the
Well,
podcast. listener
in my
loves it.
defense, I am looking at all of your faces, and sometimes I forget that you guys listening are all lucky enough to not see mine.
Fair,
Yeah, I
fair.
second
We,
that.
we,
I
we,
second
we,
that as
can
well.
we can totally live with that. But let's get into this tweet. Now, this is not a football tweet. So if you want to hit the fast forward button 4 or 5 times and come back in like 3 to 5 minutes, cool. Because we're going to talk about what I thought was the biggest sports news, because it was the biggest North American sports contract of all time. It's Shohei Ohtani related. It's baseball related, but it's sports related. We all love sports. And tonight's tweeting offender, he's a good person. I followed him for years, but this is a bad tweet, is Carter Donick, and he's at CDonick1. And he said, Soto a Yankee. That's Juan Soto for you non-baseball aficionados. Traded from the Padres to the Yankees. But Soto a Yankee, Shohei a Dodger. This is why baseball sucks, man. Install some sort of cap, which they do, and force the owners to be less cheap. They won't. And it's just so tired seeing the same teams benefiting over and over and over and over. And I'll add an and over. Jerry, you're not a baseball fan. What do you think about the Shohei Ohtani and to a lesser degree, Juan Soto going to the Yankees? Do you think there's a star issue in baseball where there's this because of the lack of a true salary cap like the NFL, that these big payroll teams have this huge advantage?
I mean, they probably do. Also, it's ironic that I'm literally wearing a baseball team's hat while we yeah, I saw Kevin's face. That's why I figured I would address it. It's the old English D, buddy. That's what matters.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tigers, I'm wearing a Tigers hat. Their biggest issue with having a superstar is they've had a superstar for the last 12 years or however long it's been, 15 years. But his English isn't great. So it's tough to make somebody like Miguel Cabrera a superstar like that. My issue with his tweet is there's a bazillion reasons why baseball sucks. No offense, Randy. I know you are a baseball guy. The most egregious thing, to go on a little sidebar, is that the fields are different sizes. In what fucking world is that a good idea? How can we not have a standardized size field for a professional game? But anyway, here's my issue with Ohtani's contract. Absolutely nothing. I think everybody is pissed off that their organization didn't do exactly that. And then this man is going to hold off on most of his money, probably so he doesn't have to pay taxes or whatever else it is. But my own slight conspiracy theory is that he wanted ownership rights in whichever team he was going to be with. And the best way to do that is at the end of because you can't be in the players union and be a player if you have ownership in a team. So the best way to do that is to just have a big fat chunk of money at the end. So he's going to take $2 million a year because he's stupid rich. He'll be fine. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, the dude is Babe Ruth. He's honestly better than Babe Ruth. And at the end of his contract, he's going to have $680 million, and they're going to go, here, you have X ownership in the LA Dodgers. Brilliant move. I'm sorry they were playing checkers and you were picking your nose.
That is the I've not heard that theory, but that's actually really smart. Check out the big Michigan State educated brain on Jerry. Kev, you're a fellow baseball fan, season ticket holder to the Phils. What are your
Yes.
thoughts? Because the Phillies themselves aren't afraid to spend a couple bucks.
No, so it's tough. I will say when I first heard about the deferral, I was like, man, this is kind of lame because now it's just like, okay, this opens an avenue where basically, okay, he's taking a deferral because he makes a ton of money, and because when he takes that pay cut, basically they can add more players. So to me, I was like, for a second until I realized kind of why, but I was like, this is just kind of, I wasn't a fan of it. But honestly, it's a genius move by Ohtani. I get it, man. It is always, but truthfully, baseball's always been that way. But you say that as the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are a small market and really do not have that high of a payroll. I think speaking of the Phils, who they beat in the NLCS, I think they had a third of the payroll. So I mean, it doesn't always matter with payroll. I mean, the offseason is always going to be the big teams in baseball. That's just how it is. It's always going to be the Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, Phillies, Red Sox, etc. This is the way it is, man. But like when the games had, like the Orioles had the best record in baseball for most of the season. I think they finished with the best record and had one of the lowest payrolls. So I mean, it happens. So like, no, this is just a bad take because we can never crown the off-season champs. You can't crown the season champs. There's a thing in football too. Just because they made some crazy splashy moves. I saw a tweet that said the Dodgers going to win 130 games and then lose to the Reds in the NLDS, and it'll just be like the same thing over and over again. But yeah, that's my take on that.
I do like that. And to tie it back to football, this is what everybody said all offseason about Philadelphia.
Right.
Oh, how we play in chess. Everybody else play in checkers. He's so smart. It doesn't always work that way. And in baseball right now, I'm looking at Spotrac. I'm looking at the highest 2023, the season that just ended, payrolls. New York Mets, the highest payroll by almost $65 million, didn't make the playoffs. New York Yankees, the second highest, didn't make the playoffs. The Padres, third highest, didn't make the playoffs. Rangers were fourth. They won the World Series. Phillies, fifth. They made it to the NLDS, or NLCS, excuse me. The Dodgers lost in the first round. Houston lost in the first round. The Blue Jays, I don't know if they made it or not. The Braves,
They lost the wild card.
the Braves lost in the wild card. I'm sorry, and the Braves lost in the first round. Cubs didn't make it. Giants didn't make it. Red Sox didn't make it.
Right.
This is an antiquated mindset. That's why it's a bad tweet for me. The game has evolved. You no longer buy championships in MLB. It's not the Yankees of the late 2000s, or excuse me, the late 90s, early 2000s with Jeter and those guys. Because the game of baseball has grown so much, not only internationally, but here in the States. And there's so much talent. And you just can't buy it all. And then when you have a team like in your own division with the Orioles, who it's kind of like a dynasty roster, to be quite honest. You've turned all those, first round picks into this treasure trove of young talent. And the Braves have done this, and the Astros have done this. This is why this is a bad tweet. If your take is that, hey, it always keeps the superstars in the same market, that's fair. But it doesn't change anything about the competitive balance of the league. Jerry, I love LOVE, love your take that, hey, at the end of this, he's owed $680 million. And if the franchise is worth, let's say it's worth $6.8 billion, we'll give you 10%, ownership stake. You go into an ownership group with a Magic Johnson and a bunch of other people. You have your first Asian, former player, minority owner. I mean, it's just like there's so many things that it could tie back to in a positive way that I think that's really strong.
It just seems like it was a big bargaining chip that I'm guessing he was trying to play. I would like to be part owner of whatever team. And that and once he deferred it, it sort of just hit me with the JFK assassination conspiracy theories and the moon landing, and I don't know. I went down a rabbit hole, and I've convinced myself. But
I heard the ownership thing is a very real possibility.
I had not heard that, yeah. But it does make sense. We will move on. Maybe Shohei got that idea from Caleb Williams. Tie it right back to football again. Caleb Williams said he wanted
Maybe
He wanted
he has more legs to stand on than Caleb does, but
maybe Shohei is showing us the way. Anyway, that's good, people. That's bad tweets. Thank you so much for tolerating a little bit of baseball. Let's give this one for grins. Where's Dana White?
Federal prison.
There he is.
Federal fucking prison. If you're that fucking stupid and somebody else wants to do it, knock yourself out. There's not enough money in it.
Well, there's enough money in it if your name's Shohei Ohtani, but let's get into the second part of our Dynasty trades and Dynasty fades. Had a lot of fun last week. Jerry, we're just going to throw you right to the fire. So we lost more quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Potentially lost CJ Stroud for the week. Potentially, we'll definitely have lost Justin Herbert. You know, I want you guys to remember this. I want all you ladies and gentlemen who listen to the Dynasty WarZone, I want you guys to remember this. If you're driving, you got to remember it. If you're at your office, write it down, take a note. Next year, when you're bitching about the late hit defensive, quarterback penalties and put a skirt on them and blah, 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 blah. I want you to remember that in week 15, you watched Aiden O'Connell do battle with Easton Stick on Thursday Night Football. Then on Saturday games, every year around Christmas, college football is over. You know what? I cannot wait to watch Nick Mullins do battle with Jake Browning. Or here in my hometown where I live, we can watch Gardner Minshew versus Mitch the Truth Trubisky. Nobody wants that. At least in the nightcap, we get Goff versus Russell Wilson, and that's a treat.
Yeah, well, I mean, Goff's been he turned into a pumpkin, but compared to those other names, yeah.
But you see where I'm going. But that takes us right to my first name on the list, and that's Baker Mayfield. I don't know what the future of a man named Baker looks like in Tampa Bay, but, on the season, he's been solid. So I'll start with you, Jerry. Is Baker a guy that you would make a dynasty trade, or even in spite of some bad situations, is he a dynasty fade?
I think he is. I think he's probably a trade. I think he's going to get a spot, and I think he's done good enough. And the one thing that makes me really like wherever he decides to end up being is that he finds his best guy, and he goes absolutely nuts. Now, anybody that had Mike Evans knows that was not true this week because he had one catch for 8 yards. And if you were relying on him to make it into the playoffs, you're a sad, crying, depressed ball in the corner, Jerry, looking at you. But he has honestly resurged that man's prospects, which was great. Randy, how many names did you just name that we did not think we were going to talk about at all this year? I mean, that was half a dozen guys, and there's been other. We still got the Tommy DeVitos, and we got a whole bunch of other guys too.
Hey, I won't hear you speak bad of Tommy DeVito on this podcast.
I hear you. I don't listen. Don't put me on the hit list. But I'm just saying. Like, I think Baker's going to be better than all of them. I think he has shown some good things. Now he still poops his pants from time to time, metaphorically speaking. Hopefully not literally. But I really do think he's going to end up with an opportunity. I mean, he's 20-8 this year. He'll probably get to 25-10, 26-11. I think that's good enough for him to get a spot somewhere.
I like that. Kev, you got anything to add on Baker?
He's been very good, honestly. So, kind of what we were talking about last week. It's not pretty. But, like, honestly, if you're looking at the quarterback 15 right now with the landscape of the quarterback market, it's a slam dunk. I mean, I'm looking at names Bailey Zappi, DeVito, Minshew, Flacco, Zach Wilson. Ritter's been horrific. Derek Carr's been horrific. Geno Smith hasn't even been good. I mean, who are you playing in these super flex leagues? I'm looking at a team. One of my main teams has Dak and Lamar. I'm thrilled to still have two healthy top, QB1 guys. Like I kind of hit the lottery on that. Like, most teams you're facing in these playoffs are not going to have that. So like, you're definitely happy to start a guy like Baker. So no, I definitely a trade for sure.
And I agree with you as well because the quarterback situation in the NFL is bleak. I mean, we're all excited for
Yeah.
Caleb Williams. I've been told he's generational. He's the second generational quarterback of this generation, which in and of itself seems like a bit of hyperbole. Because if you want to be technical, John Elway was the quarterback of the generation of the Boomers. He was the generational prospect. And then Peyton Manning was the generational prospect of Generation X. Okay. So with me so far. Andrew Luck was the generational quarterback of the millennials. Jerry, Kev, have I missed anyone so far?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, just checking. And then it was Trevor Lawrence. Beautiful hair, tougher than a Waffle House pork chop. This guy, he was the generational quarterback of the Gen Z. Because anyone younger than like 26 and a half is Generation Z, Gen Z. So how can Caleb Williams be the next quarterback of a generation and be generational when we've already done that? Anyway, but we're going to have Caleb Williams come in. We're going to have Drake May, the young man who just took the Heisman, went to LSU, transfer kid.
Jaden Daniels.
Thank you, Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to be overdrafted just based on the hype. He kind of feels like he's
based on Anthony Richardson, he's going to be over.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we'll see what kind of athlete he is.
Yeah.
But my point is in spite of all those names, there's like 16 teams that need a quarterback or will be interested in the quarterback. I don't think for one second that like teams like Seattle won't be looking for a quarterback. You know, teams that quote unquote have somebody. The Texans may kick the tires. I think Will Levis, that win the other day did a long way toward helping him, but they may take a peek. You know, the Atlanta Falcons are going to finish with a good enough record. Hell, they may win the division. So could Tampa Bay, that they're not going to get one of these top 3 or 4 rookies. So what's that mean? A guy like Baker Mayfield's going to keep his job. And he's probably going to stay in Tampa Bay another year. Or if he doesn't, Baker Mayfield's a lot like Carson Wentz, except people like him. Fantasy gamers like him. Commercial ad execs like him. Football coaches like him. And whether we think he's kind of a tool bag or not, it doesn't matter. His teammates like him. And whether I like him or not, apparently Carson Wentz is a douchebag because no one likes him. But guys like Baker Mayfield are going to be a market for them. And I think guys like Sam Darnold, who signed a 1-year backup deal in San Francisco, and guys like Carson Wentz, I think they're probably going to get jobs next year, as crazy as it is to say. So if you can get Baker cheap, what would I pay for Baker? I'm going to try real hard to give you a contender second. I think based on the fact that I could get 2 years out of Baker, you could probably hammerlock me into 2 seconds. I'll give you 24 and 25. Because you're desperate. You know, I was helping one of our patrons today, and we were having this very conversation. It's like you didn't come this far to have earned a bye and have lost Justin Herbert with 2 games to go. He's like, what would you pay for Jake Browning? I'm like, I'll give you my contender second. It's going to be no better than the 209. I understand that I'm renting this guy for 2 games, hopefully 2 games in a superflex league, for what could be the 209. I understand that. I understand there's a lot of good, players in the second round. But Jerry, how many good teams have you had in your career, all the dynasty leagues you've been in? How many good teams have you had to get to like week 14 or 15? You lose because of an injury situation like this, and you think to yourself, I'll get back here next year, but you never actually get back there next year or the year after.
I have a team that won. It's one of the Patreons. I won it. And I thought I was going to be set up. And guess who is not in the playoffs, Randall? Because shit happens, and this is a mean game.
And what about you there, Kev?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, it's just like bad luck. It just like you look at it's crazy sometimes when you look at week 1, you're just like, even say week 4, you're like, man, this team of mine or your opponent is like freaking stacked. And by the time week 11, week 12 comes around, it is the absolute other end. And they're like the 6th place or you're the 6th place team. It happens every year. In my main dynasty league, actually, this guy was like running away with it. And then all of a sudden, like he's barely making the playoffs, and it's just like, man, it looks so different. It's crazy how much can change over a season, and how we like our predetermined rankings in our own heads and stuff from week one can just change like over the course of a season, like with injuries or just people underperforming and all that stuff. So no, 100%.
Yeah, and the one thing going back to Baker, and then we'll move on to the next guy on our list, is if we've not learned anything this year, you more than ever, you need that third QB, especially on your contending rosters. And this is the reason why you look at every quarterback that signs with an NFL team. You know, the days, and you'll hear us do a lot of this in the offseason, the way that we used to do content where we just hammered at nauseum the top 2 rounds of rookie picks. This year, we're really going to be doing a lot more deep diving and trying to have it understand who those guys will be drafting in rounds 3 through 5. Because by the time we get to what, Jerry, the middle of April, we'll have a pretty good handle of who's 1 through 24.
100%.
But we found there's a lot of value pockets in the rounds of, you know, picks 25 through 60 that can really help you as a franchise. So I don't mind Baker. Go ahead, Kev.
Just real quick before we move away from quarterbacks, something I've been personally doing is actually like rostering the backup quarterbacks, even if it's like Cooper Rush, like, because I know in my brain that I'm going to spend a lot of fab probably, especially with the landscape of the quarterback market on his backup. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just kill a roster space. It sucks. But like I have Tyler Huntley as well for Lamar. I've been just hoarding their backups just because I feel
Marcus
like
Mariota.
I've seen the land. Yeah, I have him as well for in the league too. Yeah, I just think it's just smart. Like, you know, they're not going to produce obviously like the guy, but most likely it's someone you can still plug in there. So that's something I've been doing for a couple years. I guess it's gross staring at Cooper Rush at your roster all year. Like, you could have some flyer, but yeah,
I do the same thing, and it is gross because it's always right at the top of your sleeper team as soon as you hit the bench, and you're just so I get what you're saying, but when you're in a situation and you are needing a win and you need that quarterback, because quarterbacks are not the only guys that are hurt, right? Everybody's hurt right now.
Right.
So if you have a 2 or 3 flex starting roster, you know, sometimes you can't put a skill position in a super flex spot just because you're starting somebody that's absolutely atrocious. Right. When you like, I've got situations where I got Noah Fant going into my 4th flex spot. You know how horrible you feel going into a matchup you need to win when you got to rely on Noah Fant in 2023 and it's not 2019 anymore? Gross.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, just a reminder, we play in a lot of super flex leagues, you know, and you're carrying 25 guys. There's nothing wrong with carrying 4 to 6 quarterbacks because they become currency this time of the year when people need them. Let's go running back. Let's go Saquon Barkley. Not having his best year by any means. He missed a bunch of games early in the season with injury. But since then, he's mostly been okay. Going to be 27 and a likely free agent in the offseason. I'll start with Kev this time. Is Saquon Barkley, who's going to be 27 in February, is he a dynasty trade or a dynasty fade? Obviously, at his given price.
I'm shaking my head just because my brain tells me like how talented he is, but I just cannot not say fade. He's a fade for me. I don't know what it is with Saquon. I don't know if it's just the past history being burnt so much, his current situation with really not that great of a line, with him having a backup quarterback, or even going into next season with Daniel Jones, how we saw Daniel Jones look this season. I just can't get myself to do it. I think it's almost like, for me, I'd rather find another running back that's a little cheaper, that like even if someone's short-term value, like Zach Moss. Like Zach Moss could be like an RB1 the rest of the year if JT is still continuously out. Like, I'd rather just pay less for someone that is just not sexy, I guess is the word. I just feel like Saquon always has this like tax on his name where everybody's like, well, it's Saquon. Because, like, you know, he was the RB1 week 11. He had 30 points even. Like, he has it in him. It just, for me, I can't play that game. So I'm a fade.
Jer Bear.
Fade. Not because I think he's going to fall off the face of the earth like Todd Gurley did or like Dalvin Cook did. It's what Kevin said. the boy's name does have a tax to it. He's always going to have immense trade value just because he was. You want to talk about generational talent for dynasty assets? Guess who it was?
Oh, yeah.
Unanimously 101.
Yeah.
There was not a single league, according to Ryan McDowell, that he was involved in on my fantasy league that season that anybody else took anybody but Saquon Barkley.
Wow.
That's a generational prospect, and he is always going to have that insulated value because of that. And I can sell him because he's 27. He's probably going to end up on a new team, entirely new scheme. He's got some injuries. He's been good, and he'll be good on whatever team he goes to. He'll get you 1,200 yards, which is good. You can sell him for more than 1,200 yards of value just because his name is Saquon Barkley. And he's a running back, which I'm always going to sell unless I really need somebody. That's when I'm going to acquire the running back. And it's sure as hell not going to be in the offseason. It's going to be right now.
Yeah, I'm looking to go find that contender, and maybe they've lost Ramondre Stevenson. Maybe they've lost Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe they're doing it in spite of, Najee Harris, boo Najee.
Maybe they lost Justin Herbert, and I can convince them that he's good enough to take up your superflex spot. So you don't have to overpay for a Jake Browning or something.
If that, you may be in the wrong industry. You should maybe be like, selling like used cars or something. But you're buying a guy at the Dynasty playoffs. He's at the Saints this week. They're number 9 against the fantasy running back position. Then at the Eagles, who is number 4. Then against the Rams, who is number 6. Not to say that Saquon Barkley can't overcome some of that, but they're getting ready to play 3 of the toughest teams in terms of giving up fantasy points, and you're going to trade for that. But that doesn't matter. We help both the people who are contending and rebuilding. This is an entire full service show. But I am going directly to that Ramondre because it's a high ankle sprain. He's probably not coming back. They're going to win 3 games or whatever it is. I'm going to look at that guy. I'm going to look at, these guys, that have just been struggling or hurt. Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is a guy who's, is playing great. He's a top 4 or 5 running back on the season. He's more than likely not going to play tomorrow night. It's a great opportunity to sell him. But yeah, I'm 100% out on at his cost. I mean, if they're going to, they're giving him away.
Sure.
They're giving away Saquon Barkley's at the check stand. I'm going to be all over it, but I don't think they are. One more running back to throw out there for right now. I'm going back to Chuba Hubbard. Dude has been on fire since the firing of Frank Reich. A guy, he wasn't a generational talent. I think it was as much his college production as his name. He was a fun guy to root for coming out of Oklahoma State. But, dude, he's been getting the lion's share of the carries in Carolina. Big part of their offense. Been scoring some fantasy points. We know the list of teams that need running backs. So are you trading for or away Chuba?
I'm trading for Chuba. He's not expensive. He's still under contract for 1 more year. That team is booty. So they're unlikely to spend tons of money on a running back when they already did for Miles Sanders, who is not it, to say the least. And he's been good, and he's been getting all of it. I will always take the cheap running back who's getting workload like that. Yeah. I don't think he's never going to be like a difference maker. He's never going to set your roster on fire. He's not even going to have like a James Robinson type of year where he just is free and he gets 1,400 yards. But he also doesn't cost that either. Like, that's the difference between Saquon. Saquon's going to outproduce Chuba Hubbard, but you're going to pay a shitload to get Saquon, and you're going to pay nickels to get Chuba Hubbard, and it's going to be even worse in the offseason. Like at least he's scoring points right now, so you're going to have to pay up a little bit if you want to plug him in. But no, I'm for him. Like, and this time next year, getting rid of the man. Once he becomes an unrestricted free agent and he's got a new situation, he'll be 26. Absolutely not. But right now, he's got a little bit of stability, and the guy who he's in the backfield with, Miles Sanders, poop. Sorry, Jerry. I am so sorry about that July version of Jerry.
Kevin, what are your thoughts on Chuba?
Well, so my just general I don't know what you want to call it, but basically, I always try to stay away from running backs on horrendous teams. And this is a running back here on the worst team in football, but volume is king, man. And my man has literally had 48 carries in the last 2 weeks. Now, has he produced on those? Not necessarily. He's averaging
Really?
almost a little under 4 yards a carry. But I mean, he's been getting volume, and I think that's going to probably continue for the rest of the season. I will say, I don't know what the new coach. I always get afraid when a new coaching staff is coming in, and they're probably going to pick a later running back, even some cheaper guys. So this for me is only a trade if you are like literally in the playoffs right now and need to contend. Anything next year, I'm fading him. He has not the best draft capital. He also has a guy getting paid more. I'm sure the owner at some point could be like, hey, I don't care. Miles Sanders needs carries. I don't know. There's just with running backs, it's so hard to tell with stuff. And like I said, new coaching staff, sometimes they like drafting their own guys. Coaches are weird about running backs. New regime guys usually are always kind of weird. Anyway, like I said, I'm a trade if you're currently in the playoffs. But that's it.
All right. Well, in honor of Tommy DeVito, we're not going to trade for or away Tommy DeVito, but in honor of Tommy DeVito,
let me tell you a couple of three things.
as it relates to our friend Chuba Hubbard. And that is, I think he's a buy because I think you're buying the next 20 games of his career. I do think he's the starter next year, regardless of the head coach, because you mentioned it. The team is bad. They'll have a new head coach. That is a reason for some pessimism, but they can't go out and splash around in the free agency pool because they did last year with Miles Sanders. They're just going to flip the roles, at least for 2024. You're right. They'll probably bring in a 4th or a 5th round guy. Maybe they bring in somebody cheap, but if you got burnt in the free, it's like if you got burnt on Tinder. I know we're all married, but if you got burnt on Tinder, are you going right back there to try again? I mean, maybe some people are,
Right.
but maybe you don't. And as a team that just got burned with Miles Sanders on an expensive free agent deal, do you just try to get one more year out of him, keep this rotation going, and really just drive it from there? I think he sees this as an audition and that he's fighting for his job. And I will mark this down, December 13th. Well, you're listening on the 14th, December 14th, 2023. In this offseason, your boy Memphis is going to love Chuba Hubbard. I'm going to love him. I'll love him for you guys that play best ball. I'll love him in seasonal leagues. I will love him. Why? Because he'll be a 25-year-old running back in his absolute super physical peak, sharing a backfield with a guy who is washed like laundry, will get all the carries, and barring injury, he will be the guy that could come out of nowhere like a Raheem Mostert and just absolutely smash for your dynasty teams next year. This is the kind of guy not only do I want to use now because he's got a good schedule. Week 15, not great. The Falcons are good against the rush. Second fewest fantasy points allowed to the RB, but then he gets the 22nd ranked Packers and the 18th ranked Jags. So he's got, if you get to the championship semifinal rounds, he's a guy that could do some damage for you. So I like Chuba Hubbard not only for the rest of this year, next year. Kevin, did I convince you otherwise?
No. It was a good argument, but no, I'm just not in on.
You're just
Chuba,
out
honestly.
because you're out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move to a wide receiver and a guy that I like, and again, I think I'm going to like him for another year, and that's Courtland Sutton. Currently, the wide receiver, I believe it's 21. Yep. Not setting the world on fire, just solid. 10 touchdowns. I think Jerry Jeudy's the guy who leaves. If I remember correctly, he's a free agent. Clearly does not seem to be part of Sean Payton's game plan. If there's not been any drumbeat for Courtland Sutton, he's still quote unquote young enough. He's 28, will be 29. He has a couple of good years left in front of him. And as far as wide receiver, like he makes like 15, 16 million bucks a year. But that's very reasonable considering that a guy like T. Higgins and probably Jerry Jeudy are going to get that or more. This is going to sound bad, but though their contracts in the SPO track are over the cap, Courtland Sutton makes Hunter Renfrow money.
Wow.
Yes, that is a thing. Hunter Renfro's making $17 million bucks.
Wow.
So I think I don't think there's a chance of them cutting him. I do think Marvin Mims is a screaming buy, but if you're looking for points, you're looking for production, I don't mind you taking a stab at Cortland Sutton. What am I paying? I'm going to offer that same 209. Hey, I need a wide receiver. Maybe you had Tyreek Hill. He's banged up. I don't mind offering a late second for Cortland Sutton. Jerry, you look like either A, you think I'm an idiot, or B, like you're passing gas. Could be both.
The Davis family is. Imagine looking at the at the opus of what Hunter Renfrow has done and deciding to give him $17 million. Like, he's fine. Like, he's okay. He's an NFL wide receiver, but my God, imagine doing that.
Guy. Yeah,
slot
like,
guys
are a dime a dozen.
That's
shifty.
That's wild. That's
Chris
absolutely wild. This, I see what you guys are doing. I like Cortland Sutton. I think I'm probably trading for him, but it depends. How much is he costing? Because I feel like he's sort of been a guy that we've talked about since he was a prospect, and he struggled a little bit. And the little bit of resurgence, I think his value has ticked up a little bit. So I honestly don't know what I would pay for him. But he is going to be there because Jerry Jeudy's a free agent after next year. And Cortland Sutton will still be under contract. They're not going to pay two of them $37 million between the two of them.
And Tim Patrick makes good coin.
And Russell Wilson has been good enough. The defense has been very good. So they're in the thick of the playoff race. And if they can continue to grow with Sean Payton, they should still be in that win now window throughout the remainder of his contract, which means they're probably going to want to keep him, which goes through 2025. He'll be 30. It seems like Cortland Sutton is going to be around for a couple of more years, which makes me want to say that he's absolutely a buy. Plus, he's been the productive guy in that offense. It just depends what he costs, I think. And I know that's a bit of a cop-out of an answer, but dude's been good enough for sure.
What about you there, Kevin?
So no, I totally agree. He's a buy for sure. I will say, as I was kind of looking this over, I'm like, I can just picture the manager being like, look, no, he's been really solid. Like, no, I really don't want to give him up. So I can see maybe if someone's had him for years and they're like, you know what? He's been horrific for years. Like, I'm over this. Let's finally sell high. So maybe if they think they're doing that, I just see Russ and him finally gelling, and he's been just absolutely locked and loaded to throw him in the lineup every single week except 1 week this year. I mean, so if you're in multiple flex league, like a start 10 or whatever, you're going to be happy as crap to have him in your lineup. I mean, he's not setting the world on fire, but he's, you're at least getting 9 to 12 to 13, PPR points every week. You can't beat that from like your, second, third, fourth flex or whatever. So to me, that's definitely a buy. Like I said, it's not crazy. I remember someone said in the Dynasty WarZone Patreon, our group chat, it was saying that if you bet did you guys see that? Where it was like, if you actually bet on the touchdowns for Cortland Sutton, you would like, it was like $5 or something. Yeah. So it might have been Dallas. Yeah. It said if you bet $5, you would bet up like $500, something crazy. So yeah, he would have hit that. So he's been very solid, and I don't see why that wouldn't continue. They got Detroit, New England, and the Chargers. It's a pretty good, solid end of the schedule. They've been good. They've been kind of winning games, and Russ is passing. So yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I am firmly in the buy of Cortland Sutton. I bought him on a couple of contenders. I've got a matchup this weekend. I would love for him to rock Jerry's Lions world and help me out. Another guy having a career year, so that's going to make him expensive. Yeah. But maybe you're wanting to move like a younger underperformer. As a rebuilder and as a contender, I love buying this guy because of his age, and that's DJ Moore. DJ Moore is currently the wide receiver 7, but DJ Moore and Cortland Sutton were in the same draft class. Cortland Sutton is going to be 29 this offseason. Jerry, by now that what you know, how old is DJ Moore going to be this offseason? Going into what will be his 7th year, how old will Mr. Moore be?
Well, you're setting me up to make me think he's like 27.
That's
But I didn't
exactly
know that before.
Yes, he will only be going into his age 27 season. That's technically right at the absolute apex of a wide receiver. And it's been a hotly debated topic on Twitter the last couple of days about, do the Bears take the 101 and use it on Caleb Williams, or do they keep Justin Fields? As a DJ Moore GM in Dynasty, it doesn't matter, because Justin Fields hyper targets him. And if for some reason they end up drafting, and they should draft Caleb Williams, by the way, you can't have a quarterback keep getting better. I know he's been better, but I used to work with a guy. He said at some point you have to stop getting better and just be better. And he's done it against the Lions twice and the Minnesota Vikings once, and that game wasn't very good. Hey, there's something about, I see Jerry's face, there's something about Justin Fields that just allows him to rock the Lions world. I'm not making this up. But anyway, regardless, that being said, whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, his quarterback's going to be good, good for fantasy. And I think DJ Moore is a screaming buy. If I got to move Jalen Waddle plus a little bit to get him from a rebuilder, I'm going to do it. I don't care. Give me the 27-year-old. Give me the guy who's got like 3 super peak years. He's already set a better than average touchdowns on the year. He's got 7, and he's almost got his career average on a season. He's always averaged around 75 catches and 1,100 yards. As we speak, he's at 76 catches, 1,071 yards. So he's already right there, but he's got 4 games to go. We're talking about a guy that could have 1,400 yards and 8 or 9 touchdowns, and maybe do it on 90 catches. And I think that could be the norm for him. I think you're looking at a top 10, 12 point scorer. He won't be that high in rankings or dynasty startup rankings or redraft next year. But this guy's an absolute stud. I love DJ Moore. I always have. I was very, 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 very concerned when he went to Chicago, but those fantasy concerns have been squashed. Jerry, I see you nodding your head.
That's because he's a buy. I mean, how does the situation make his production different? He has had Justin Fields, he peppers him, don't worry, but not the best passer in the world. He's had Tyler Badgett, and he has decided to go for almost 1,100 yards in 13 games. He has 7 touchdowns. Yes, he does things against the Lions, which is not ideal. Let's say, they do go with Caleb Williams and they decide to keep DJ Moore because he does have a cheap out. He's only $1 million against the cap next year if they decided to get rid of him. I don't think they would, especially based on the fact that he's going to be 27 years old and in his super prime, and he is coming off a career year. He's a buy. He's a buy. He's a buy. He's a buy. He's a buy because he's going to end the season with 1,300 yards and probably 9 touchdowns. And he's going to be going into that super prime 100%. Absolutely a cornerstone piece that you can build around. And he's never really been a guy that I have felt that way about. Jerry is wrong. DJ Moore is a guy that I would love to have on my rosters. And I would absolutely make an effort to do it. Probably not right now, though. I think I would wait till the offseason. I think his value dips when, oh my God, think of all the sexy rookies that are coming in. Oh my God, we got Malik Neighbors and we got Keon Coleman and Marvin Harrison, and guys like DJ Moore are going to fall to the wayside value-wise. And that's when I'll go get him.
100%. I'm looking at a draft from one of my fantasy leagues as we're doing the show, and a guy that was going around the 110 even in superflex drafts was Quentin Johnston. If I can give, I don't care who the 2024 110 is. I don't.
He's been okay though the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
he showed up. Yeah, he's finally got a pulse. We got some life, baby.
Hey, you know what? You get in where you fit in. But this, I don't care how good the rookie class is. There's always going to be a Corey Coleman. There's always going to be a Jalen Rager. There's always going to be.
No. Let them learn that on their own. They all need their own lumps, bud. They got to learn it.
It's like Jordan Addison's been okay, not set the world on fire. I mean, all of these rookie Jackson Smith and Jigba, we were beat about the head, neck, and shoulders last year in the offseason. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's a generational talent. Jackson Smith and Jigba is like I think I can. Jackson Smith and Jigba, and you just kept hearing it over and over and over. And what he's given you this year is a solid 8 fantasy points a game. And you know what? If I can give up that 106, that 107, that 108, that 109, that 110, and I'd really love to give up a 111 and 112 to go get a guy that I've seen produce on average 75 catches, 1,100 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Yeah, I'll just take that. I instead of taking the thing that could be that, I'll just take the thing that's that.
We're 4 months, 5 months away from that 106, like Malik Neighbors, and you can get DJ Moore 100 times out of 100.
But like the Peter Griffin thing, it could be you could have a boat.
Yeah,
or
it could be
100%. Yeah,
100%.
You know,
that's what it is.
Malik Neighbors could be anything, even DJ Moore.
Right, 100%. That's a better way of putting it.
That is we do this every single year.
I love DJ Moore. It's just like I've been that manager that's been frustrated with him in the years with the Panthers. So,
which you were fair to be.
Yeah, and honestly, but he's always been so talented, which is why I think I just was like flagged. I'm like, this guy is talented. Like, he's legit. And I think the Bears are finally actually using him. And like you said, I think Caleb probably coming in, or Drake May, whoever they end up going with, will help with that for sure. And I think it's only going to go up. I'm more with Jerry with exactly like, now the offseason is the time, but it's wheels up for DJ Moore for sure. Because I think mentally, and also to say your point last week, Memphis, like with the Waddle plus or Waddle for DJ Moore plus, like I think that's a phenomenal move, because I think where we all are mentally with like Dynasty, we all have the rankings memorized in our head, and we're like, well, Waddle's here, but like he's the wide receiver 6, 7 this year. He's wide receiver 7 in full PPR leagues this year. Finally hitting, man. So yeah, it's DJ Moore wheels up.
So if you go, I have one more guy for these guys, and we'll wrap this up and take this one in for a landing. But you have to ask yourself, what kind of dynasty gamer am I? If I'm the kind of dynasty gamer that wants to have young, sexy names, I want to look at this roster and think, what can it be in a couple of years? And you just enjoy paying your dues, because most of our leagues, like our patron leagues, are $10, or I think there's a couple that are 20. It's not like life-changing money. It's barely a combo meal at Chick-fil-A. Some of the other leagues that we're in, it's $50, it's $100. There's a couple of decent sized leagues out there. We don't play in those Theo level leagues, but $50, $100, that's a night out with your wife. $50 is a nice dinner for you and your wife. And when I mean nice, I mean like Chili's. If
he's a classy fella.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Like, I mean, not.
I know what you're saying.
Without a drive-through. How about that?
Yeah.
About like a restaurant without a drive-through. And if you want to spend $100, you're probably going to get like a nicer dinner and maybe a couple of drinks. So if you see Dynasty Fantasy Football the way that you see a dinner with your wife, is it's fun, it's entertainment, it's a sunk cost. I'm getting enjoyment out of this $50, and you just like making draft picks and never winning, that's totally cool. As a matter of fact, come play in some more leagues with me. I need more people like that in my life.
That's right.
But if you're into winning, with winning players and proven talents that are just boring, consider DJ Moore just a younger version of Mike Evans, who we talked about last week. He's just going to score fantasy points without being sexy. He was the new hotness. Now he's old and busted. He was the new hotness. And so anyway, I don't want to, belabor the point, but if you like to win, these are the kind of guys that you put on your roster that can help you win now and next year, because they're going to score fantasy points, which helps you win games. Last guy I got for you, I'm going to start with Kevin. Tight end, man. Tight end's always a sweet mystery bag out there, and a guy that's been kind of on a little bit of a heater lately, including 2 tutties last week. David Njoku.
Oh, wow.
What are your thoughts on David Njoku if you're like in that tight end premium league and, you know, or maybe you're like in a league that Jerry and I are in where you must start 2 tight ends and it's like he's a name that feels like even though he was like from an athletic standpoint, he was pretty much like that Kyle Pitts before Kyle Pitts.
True.
What are your thoughts
first round
about
rookie pick?
So
what are your thoughts?
for the way the tight end landscape goes, let me just say, and now he's had 1.5 million quarterbacks this season. But since week 7, here is his targets in order: 9, 8, 6, 9, 15, 9, 6, 8. I mean, you can't ask for more with a tight end with that. I mean, Joe Flacco's clearly was peppering him last week. He had the 6 targets in his first. Flacco's first start was the Rams, right? This is the second with Flacco, right?
This is going into the third game. Yes, he's averaged 7 targets a game with Joey Flacco. So
to me, yeah, I think it's just going to continue like that. I think with Jerome Ford and Njoku, like the easy targets, it seems where Flacco is going to be targeting. I don't know what's in store next year. I mean, he was okay with Deshaun, but really kind of took off once Deshaun went out. But I mean, I don't know how much you're going to have to pay up for him. I would definitely trade for him though, because currently, like I'm playing like Isaiah Likely in the league that I lost Mark Andrews. I don't feel good about that.
Well, you got lucky this past week then.
I definitely did. Of course, I didn't start him because I was scared.
God, this is a fun game. I'm
playing the tight end roulette right now. It's misery. I panic trade for Dallas Goedert because I'm the 1 seed. So I won't say panic trade, but trade for Josh Downs for him. Anyway,
that's a deal.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought that was a good plug and play, but yeah. Anyway, to avoid, I would be very comfortable. So basically, yeah, I'll be very comfortable trading for Njoku for the rest of the season. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm doing.
And next
it
year,
too.
he's talented as heck. Yeah, no doubt.
He's under contract. He's got a $19 million dead cap hit. Like he's gonna be the guy. And you know, we say 27 is the super prime for wide receivers. Once you get into 28, 29, 30, then you're starting to look at the tight ends. And guess who turns 28 next year?
Fast.
I mean, dude has been talented, and if you have not played this game for more than a couple years, you don't know when I said that he was a first round rookie pick. David Njoku was a first round rookie pick. I mean, he has had that profile. Anybody that's played this game for a long time has heard the name. He was ad nauseum that offseason. He's been relatively productive from a overall dynasty standpoint, and he's been pretty damn good as a tight end. Yes, he's a buy, and he's relatively cheap. I mean, he's not costing you Mark Andrews money. He's not costing you Hawk money. He's not costing you probably Trey McBride money at this point. Hell, not even close to Sam Laporta. I mean, for what you're getting point-wise and production-wise, he's a value. He's going to be
crazy.
around. So that's a trade.
Yeah. It's almost like the tight end landscape is even better now. There's been so many more younger guys stepping up. Just everybody you just named, which I think puts him a lot higher, like lower on the level, which is like you're comfortable in starting him for sure.
Well, we're gonna take just a quick break, but I'm gonna ask these two guys a trivia question, and we'll see if they can get it after this. Jerry, Kevin, who were the other 2 rookie tight ends that were drafted in the 2017 rookie class in the first round? We're going to have that answer right after this. All right, so there you go. You now have been asked a trivia question. Jerry, do you know the other 2 rookies from the 2017 tight end class that were also drafted in the first round of the rookie drafts that year?
I'm pretty sure O.J. Howard was one.
That is correct. O.J. Howard is one.
It's the other one that I can't, because I remember there being 3 for sure, and it's not the Hawk Fant year. Oh,
because he's not even in the league anymore.
He is. I'll give you a hint. He is the current tight end 3 in the league in fantasy scoring. I saw.
It's Evan Ingram.
It's Evan Ingram.
Oh, yeah.
That
Oh, my
is
God. Ole Miss,
correct.
yeah.
Evan Ingram
Wow.
was the other. So there's been tight end premium rookie hype going back a long time.
It takes
Yeah,
these
but-
guys forever, man. It's just like, that's why I'm always like, buy these guys when they're like year 5, year 6, year 7. Pay later, man. Just
your when you get to your rookie draft this year, there's going to be a couple of those. There's the Bowers kid. I'm sure there'll be a couple other tight ends that always pop up. They always do. Throw that late round dart at a Jake Turd Ferguson. Throw that late round that late round pick on a Cade Otton. We laugh at Cade Otton. He's the tight end 16 on the season.
Listen, as a person that like I was complaining about Mike Evans earlier, I got a lot of sleeper leagues, so I get all the notifications for everything that happens. And all I want to see is Baker Mayfield throws XYZ to Mike Evans, and it's effing Cade Otton all the damn time. And I hate seeing his name. I do, Randy. I really, really do.
Fun story about Cade Otton. So I host a gambling podcast here on Player Profiler called The Juice. I stream it live on Friday nights, and it's a podcast on Saturday. One of my props this week was Cade Otton over 2.5 receptions. He only had 2. He had 5 targets. So Baker clearly likes this kid, but this is the point. You take these flyers and you just like, I'm not giving up on Noah Gray. I've had Noah Gray for years. Travis Kelce's finally slowing down. And they're not going to get rid of him because they don't have anyone to replace him with. But you never know in some of these positions, especially when the scarcity gets really wild, like you were seeing at quarterback right now. I saw a trade earlier. I forgot to do the trade corner, and I forgot to do Dallas's rookie prospect. That's my B. But we'll end on this trade. I'll get your guys' thoughts. This is a league that Jerry and I are in. I don't know if you saw this come across the wire because you were working, but in a league, our buddy Nate, been a guest on the show, just a super great dude, made a trade with Theo, and he traded Justin Herbert for Zach Wilson and Brock Purdy. Now, Nate this is a pretty expensive league. And Nate has no quarterbacks. Like, he's lost, if not Stroud and Herbert, he's lost Herbert and someone else. Like, he's playing me this weekend, ironically, in this league in the first round of the playoffs, and he would not have had a starting quarterback to start had he not made this move. So, Kevin, you said, wow, I'll give you the first right of refusal on this trade.
And this is Dynasty, correct?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is not the redraft war zone, sir. This is the Dynasty war zone.
I'm
Make
sorry.
that clear.
I'm not doing that. I just, that's crazy. I shout out to him, but no. I mean, sometimes you just got to take the L, and it's just like, is really trading for Zach Wilson, and Brock Purdy, sure, but like, is it really going to make that much of a difference? To me, I think you're kind of shot with all your injuries. So, my gosh, I would love to throw a trade calculator on that, but yeah, I'm taking that deal all day. You said Theo was making that trade, right?
Yeah, Theo, our boy Theo, the
Good
OG
for him.
fantasy.
That's not something I would do.
You know what? Sometimes the fish jumps right into the boat. Jerry, what are your thoughts?
I mean, if you plug it into a calculator, it's going to say it's dog shit. I mean, just based on, where Justin Herbert's going in a startup.
Wow.
But I mean, Brock Purdy's been pretty damn good. I mean, comparable for sure. Not as many yards. He's I don't know. If you're desperate, I don't know if it's a move I make either, but originally when you said it, I thought he's on drugs and we have to talk to him and we have to help him. But the more I wanted to double check and see what Brock Purdy has done, because I know Brock Purdy's situation. He is going to be the quarterback in a Kyle Shanahan offense, and they have a lot of good pieces, and it's going to be for the foreseeable future. And I wanted to just double check his production, and it's pretty comparable. So listen, not my move. I have tiny little marble-sized testicles, and clearly you can't. You have to have bowling balls. So I'll give him some credit.
That is a great way to put that, because that's a freaking nuts, man, to do that. I mean,
Well,
is
we
that
talked
him
about it.
waving the white flag on Herbert as well?
Well, are we?
I mean,
Here's the
if
question.
Keen, are we too low on Brock Purdy?
Well,
Yes,
that's
we are.
where I'm going.
100%.
That's where I'm going. Are we too high on Justin Herbert, and are we too low on Brock Purdy?
I
could see that.
I agree. I think they are probably closer than
Because how many year windows do we build in? Do we say?
3.
Okay, we have at least 2 more solid years of Brock Purdy in that offense with Kyle Shanahan. A, because he's shown a mastery of that offense, and B, because he's dirt cheap. And when you got to pay all these skill guys and the defense, you got to have a cheap quarterback. So he's not going anywhere. So if I told you that for the next 2 years you have Brock Purdy or Justin Herbert, I will tell you in terms of points per game, the difference is about 0.4 of a point, at least in the scoring format of the league that Jerry and I are playing in. Brock Purdy averages 18.3 and Justin Herbert averages 18.7.
I think the part that makes it egregious, though, is that if you don't make this move to win now and you trade Justin Herbert in the offseason, you get more.
Maybe you can, but is he going to get back here next year? We talked about that earlier.
And that is a fair argument.
Because from a points per game standpoint, he just replaced Justin Herbert for this weekend against me. Yay me. Then he picked up Zach Wilson for free as insurance in case CJ Stroud can't go. Because I checked his roster, it is CJ Stroud. So he gave himself some insurance that gives him a chance to win. He's not going to win because he's playing me. And we know I don't lose. But then again, we're also not going to be one of those podcasts that, I'm in 27 leagues and I made this many playoffs and nobody cares.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm in that league and my team's dog shit. So I'll tell you that.
I saw JJ Zacharisa tweeted that he's never not had a first round bye. So people were asking him how he was doing this week. He said, I've just never have ever not had a first round bye. So why would I be playing this week?
Nobody cares. I'll tell you what. If you DM me at DWZ Memphis and say, what did your record and rankings look like? We'll work something out to where I'll send them to you via smoke signal. Seems like a good way of doing it.
You've seen Theo's roster in that league now, so he's got Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. So he just went with all the injured guys.
He's going all chalk.
That's how you do it.
Theo had a good start up. This is the 3rd year of this league. Theo had a good start up. Had some bad luck at the end of year 1. Decided to go embrace the suck. He's got a bunch of draft picks. He's going to have a really good team next year. If he wins the health battle. I think he's a tight end away because it's a must start too. But anyway, that's the show. We talked more trades. We talked about what we're doing. We talked about our leagues, and we want to hear what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show and joining us. Kevin's going to go get it launched on YouTube so you guys can take it all in, and we'll be back to live streaming soon. I'm definitely looking forward to live streaming. Live streaming's a lot more fun. You get to interact with you guys in the chat, and we'll be starting our rookie content that first Sunday of the playoffs. So you'll have me, you'll have Jerry, you'll have the occasional run-in of producer Kevin, and we'll do some more. But Kevin, what parting words do you have for these people?
I will say I have not been on the air with Jerry since my alma mater, James Madison University, beat his alma mater, Michigan State Spartans. So I just wanted to give that a shout out. Sorry, Jerry. That was a fun night for us. We were still ranked. I would like to say that as well. So we're still undefeated. Go Dukes. Yeah. Any words there, Jerry?
No, it was horrible, and this basketball season has been horrible. Your football team's better than mine too, probably. So that's just great.
And we lost our coach to Indiana though, so we'll see how that goes. We did get Holy Crosses guy, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just give the JMU Dukes a shout out, man. We're at everything school, as they're saying now.
But yeah, no, just make your moves, especially if you've just had some bad luck, right? Like you're in 7th, you just missed the playoffs. Make moves to contenders if you can. If your trade deadline has not happened, that's why we do this show now. Because if the playoffs haven't started yet, so if it ends, then get this shit done. Now is a critical time. Like we just talked about the Justin Herbert and the Brock Purdy. If you think the fact that he gave up Justin Herbert for that is absolutely egregious, just know that people that are desperate to win will do those sorts of things, and they can benefit you in the construction of your team. So now is the time. That's why Randy, being a brilliant man that he is, has set up the show to be like that now, because it is the time. You can change the trajectory of your team immensely in moments like this. If you are in a rebuild, get rid of the veteran right now, get the pick. Go for the guy that's hurt. Do whatever you can. It is so critical right now.
Wow, I'm motivated.
Jerry's like the Captain America of speeches here in the Dynasty WarZone. If not now, when?
No question.
If not you, who? Now is the time. You got to go out and make the moves. Don't listen to that bullshit advice, guys. We got to play Dynasty differently. We got to do Dynasty differently. We were talking about 2017 when Jerry and I were, that's when we first started doing content together, I believe.
Yeah.
It was thereabouts. And the way that we played then is not the way we play now. No. And don't buy that bullshit. Now, do you need to submarine your league and your team and just, get yourself crushed? No. You need to making strategic moves. I just got eliminated from a league that I'm very passionate about. But this is a team that I knew was its last year of its contending window. Kind of had a bad beat, but it happens. It happens in poker. It happens in fantasy sports. And I'm out there. I'm hustling. I'm working the dials. I'm creating buzz. All these quarterback injuries. Hey, I'd love to move Matt Stafford on what's going to be starting a rebuild. Hey, you know what? You want to win a championship? I'm going to move Austin Eckler and Amari Cooper. And not Amari Cooper, excuse me. Austin Eckler and Alvin Kamara and Stephon Diggs. Hey, I'm moving these guys. Yes, they're older. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more than you would in a couple of weeks, but you know what? What's that championship worth? What's it worth when you go onto the webpage? Because yes, some of us still go to actual websites on actual computers, and there's these badges. We'll call them badges of honor. And it says you're right there among your peers and your friends. It says champion at DWZ Memphis 2022. That's worth it. That's what it's worth it, on top of the money and the tears they cry. So that's why we play. I love these guys. That's my man, Jerry. You know him as the man of the hour and the man with the power. Follow him at JerrySinDWZ. That is producer Kevin. You can follow him on Twitter at Smicky. That's with 3 Y's. SMICK 3 Y's. Why? Because he said so. But until next time, Jerry and I will be back. Kevin may or may not. We'll see what he has going on in his life. But remember, here at the Dynasty WarZone, we're just here to make the world a better place for fantasy football. We'll see you next week, guys. Good luck. Week 1 of the playoffs.
Go win.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.